of seismic change. Will your business shape the future or be shaped by it? How will we capture the imagination of tomorrow's consumers? Harness technology and AI to shape the way we live our lives. And balance environmental responsibility with economic prosperity. With EY's full spectrum of services across sectors, we're all in to shape the future with confidence.
Technology, it moves at the speed of thought. It connects us. It opens our minds. Corporate innovators, investors, disruptors, it's time to see your tech go global. 4 years from now, powering startups.
Good afternoon, everyone! Welcome back to the Founder Stage. My name is Jivile, and I'll be guiding you this week through this whole exciting agenda. Because here where things are happening, this is the stage where we're meeting the startups, where we're learning the tools, where we're having practical conversations about how to build, how to scale, and how to collaborate as well. And this stage, wouldn't be possible, the Founders Academy, without our partner AWS. So thank you for them that we can have this great program here. And yeah, we're kicking off our afternoon session with quite some practicalities. How to actually build a Gen AI for, how to use Gen AI for app development. So how many of you would like to create an app here? Yeah? How many of you are here founders who would like to see how can we actually make it use the Gen AI tools? Okay, I can see some hands and I can see some curious eyes as well, because the first time I tried to do drag and drop app development with no coding experience, I was amazed what the capabilities of the tools were possible. And I'm talking about few years back. And the technology has evolved rapidly, and we're gonna have on stage a speaker who every day wakes up with a thought: to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. I couldn't agree more. I think we do have right now the right tools, the right environment to do our best, to make it easier to build fast, fail fast, and continue creating great stuff. So without waiting no more, I would like to invite on stage Eduardo Ordax, who is a principal and go-to-market GenAI at Amazon Web Services. And yeah, he's been within tech for many years and has over 15 years of experience in sales and business development and strong technical foundation. So, Eduardo, I would like to welcome on stage so you can share with us the magic, how to build those apps and how to use GenAI. The stage is yours.
Hey everyone. Well, I was quite surprised because like only a couple of you raised the hand just to do app development. So maybe all the others needs to go there to take some lunch. But no, jokes apart, I'm going to talk a bit about generative AI, right? And I'm going to do it in a very easy manner so everyone can understand why we are here today at this moment. As I said, I'm leading go-to-market for generative AI across EMEA. And that means, like right now, my friends and family, they are quite interested about what I'm doing for a living. And this probably when I realized that, like life is changing because of artificial intelligence, right? Like 2 years ago, nobody knew what I was doing for a living. Actually, a year ago, nobody knew what I was doing for a living. And now it seems like everyone wants to talk to me to know about artificial intelligence. So it's even funny because when I'm, like having lunch with my friends, everyone is asking me, like about science stuff or artificial intelligence. Well, they're asking me about artificial intelligence and also about Elon Musk. But I prefer to keep the other side, right? So I'm going to talk a bit about artificial intelligence today. And we are probably at one of the most important inflection points when talking about artificial intelligence since probably 1950, right? And we are here today because of many different reasons, right? Why AI is becoming so popular, right? It's because we have a lot of data, and right now we are in a position to deal with this data, right? This is a reality. We have enough compute capacity or availability of GPUs to train these foundation models. This is the second thing we need. And third, there is happening huge innovation around artificial intelligence within the last few years. If you're familiar with it, all these LLMs, all these large language models are based on a paper that was released by Google in 2017, 2018, that it was called like, attention is all you need, right? And since there, huge innovation is happening in the field of artificial intelligence. And this led us to have millions of users using artificial intelligence. Actually, if you take a look to the numbers that I'm going to share later, you will realize how exponentially artificial intelligence and generative AI is growing. But what do we mean by generative AI, right? Because like people is talking about artificial intelligence, is talking about machine learning, is talking about generative AI. There are many different names, right? So we could say generative AI, that it's based on deep learning neural networks, is a subset of artificial intelligence. And this is popular because of this, right? So generative AI is creating the kind of content that is super similar to the one generated by humans. Probably if you take a look to those pictures, you are not in a position to differentiate if this was generated by humans or if it was generated by artificial intelligence. So this is the first aspect about artificial intelligence, about generative AI, right? Second thing is like it's powered by foundation models. And foundation models has been trained on huge amount of data, and they have something that we call number of parameters, right? So this is typically like our brain. The more connections we have in our brain, the more intelligent we are. So the bigger these models, or the more number of parameters, more smart they are going to be, these models. So this is the second aspect. Third aspect is we can use generative AI for many different use cases. So if we compare with traditional ML, we used to have different models for different purposes. Let's say I want to predict the churn of the customer, or I want to do customer segmentation, or I want to do like fraud detection, right? So we used to train different models for different purposes. Right now with these LLMs, it's quite different because we can use the same model for many different things. We can use it for image creation, or summarization, or Q&A, or even for code generation. So this is something that is completely different to traditional ML. That's why they are like so big, because they have been trained to do many different things. But the thing about these models is that they are very generic, right? They have been trained on data on the internet. Internet, videos, YouTube, books, but they don't know anything about you guys. They don't know anything about your business. They don't know anything about your customers. So you can do something that is to keep training these models or to customize these models to know more about your data, right? So different techniques, and the most popular, it's called fine-tuning. So you can adapt your model to excel at very specific tasks. And I think this is the value of these models. I mean, like, everyone can go there and use Claude, ChatGPT, but again, this is going to give you the same answer to you and all the others. If you use it for your specific purpose, if you are able to fine-tune these models with your own data, you are going to get much better results. And remember what I was saying before, right? Like, the adoption pace, it's absolutely exponential. I'm pretty sure all of you know about Spotify, about Telegram, about Pinterest. So if you take a look, actually Instagram, it took 30 months to reach 100 million users. If you compare with ChatGPT, ChatGPT only took a couple of months to reach 100 million users. But I'm sure everyone knows about DeepSeek and the latest news on DeepSeek. Well, DeepSeek, in the first couple of weeks, doubled the data from ChatGPT. So the adoption pace, it's amazing. I mean, like, we can see AI almost everywhere, right? But there is a problem. This is the situation today. So AI is cool, there is a lot of hype, but when I'm talking to customers, when I'm talking to people, the reality is quite a bit different, right? Like, yeah, everyone can make like a nice POC or a nice prototype, but when we look into the adoption from the customer perspective, this is what is going on. I mean, like, many people is using artificial intelligence to create experiments, to see the art of the possible. They have internal pilots, like, hey, I'm going to build my internal chatbot or my internal assistant. But when you think about, like, real use cases in production at a scale, the situation is quite different. We are around 12% of customers in production by using artificial intelligence. So you may ask, like, okay, but why this is happening, right? Because the reality is, like, it's very easy for everyone to start using these models, right? And actually it is. But this is the problem. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure if you read the news, like, like, all the time we are seeing, like, hey, new model has been released. Last week, OpenAI was announcing GPT 4.5. Claude was announcing 3.7. Also, Elon Musk announced Grok 3 a couple of weeks ago. And I mean, like, this is happening all the time, right? So we believe, like, the model is like our brain, right? And this is the only thing that we need when we need to move into production, when we need to embed artificial intelligence in our business. The situation is different. This is what is happening in the real world. This is when we are sitting with customers and trying to implement AI at the scale. We realize that there are, like, many different components that we need to pay attention to, right? It's about how I'm going to manage the hallucinations, right? Because, like, all these models, they are hallucinating all the time. How I'm going to control the cost. I've seen many use cases that had been stopped because they were, like, super expensive. And, like, people were telling me, like, hey, I prefer to hire someone instead of, like, using an LLM. How I'm going to do, like, CI/CD, how I'm going to control prompt management, because let me tell you something, like, doing prompt engineering is much more than just crafting prompts, right? You need to version the prompts, you need to deploy your prompts, you need to monitor your prompts, you need to define the output, you need to define the input. I mean, like, there are, like, many different components. And even if we are talking about RAG, retrieval augmented generation, it's the same thing. When we are building a pilot, it's super easy to just look in a bunch of documents, I don't know, like 10 documents, 100 documents. But in production, our business has thousands of different documents. So to implement RAG at the scale, we need many different techniques, like to do, like, advanced retrieving, different techniques for chunking, for indexing, and so on. So this is what is happening right now. This is why most of the customers, they are struggling to implement generative AI at the scale. Because they realize, like, yeah, the model is important, but there are, like, many other components they were not paying attention. And actually, this is the reason why we at AWS, we decided to build Amazon Bedrock. That is our service to make sure, like, any kind of, like, a software developer or, like, a coding engineer, whatever, they can build on top of generative AI. And actually, since, I think, April 2023, we have released over 400 different features to work with generative AI. Services like Amazon Q, Bedrock, SageMaker AI, they are going to democratize the way like people can build on top of generative AI. I'm not going to talk a lot about like AWS services here today, not because I don't want it, but because they forbid me to do it. No, not really. But again, I think it's important because I also wanted to show you what we are doing at AWS, right? So we have like 3 different layers. We have the bottom layer where we provide services for people like they want to build, models. They want to train models from scratch. So they need to get access to compute, like GPUs, training, inferencia. So they need to get access to all these technologies to make sure they can build on top of that. And typically here, we are going to have like ML engineers, data scientists, researchers, and so on. But this is just few amount of people, right? Most of the folks, they want to build applications on top of generative AI, and they don't need to be like super technical, right? So they have access to Amazon Bedrock. That is right now the easiest way to build applications by using LLMs and any other foundation model. But then we have the users, right? And me as a user, I want to go to my business and start using these services, making sure that my data is not going to expose to the internet, or even they are not going to use my data to train the underlying model. So we have services like Amazon Q, where it's a virtual assistant for enterprise that is going to learn also from your data. So it's not like, this kind of LLMs applications that you query over the internet, that they are not secure. But this is something that has been trained on your own data from your own business. And this is what we are doing at AWS. But again, this is not the purpose for today. The purpose for today is to give you some tips and tricks to make sure you can excel and you can move forward with generative AI. And typically, people used to ask me, OK, but this is moving so fast, right? So where I should focus today? Because every day is new models coming in, new services, new startups. So where should I focus to make sure that I'm going to be successful? So my recommendation is to focus on those things that they are not going to change. And today I'm going to talk about 5 key pillars that actually over time, if we analyze the last 24 months, this is something that has not changed over time. And I think this is super important. And the first reason is when we are talking about artificial intelligence, when we are trying to work with artificial intelligence, we are talking about the cloud. If we analyze the compute that is required to train foundation models, have increased over time, over and over. We can take a look here, right? Since 2018, that this paper from Google was released, we have increased the number of compute. And there are many providers that are training their models on AWS. I'm pretty sure you are aware about customers like Anthropic, Mistral, TII, Stability, or Hugging Face. They are currently using our chips and also our NVIDIA GPUs to train their foundation models. So they have access to all this technology that is super needed to train these foundation models, but also to serve these models to the end customer. Second aspect is about experimentation. And this is something that we have lived pretty well at AWS and also at Amazon. I remember a couple of years ago when ChatGPT was released, everyone wants to do something, right? I mean, all employees at AWS, we want to build applications to evaluate the art of the possible, to say OK, can I solve my problem by using artificial intelligence? And there are many different ways to do it. I really recommend you to use this one because even if you are not technical, you can go into Party Rock and you can very easily start building applications. And this is something that I did. I was trying to see OK, which kind of applications I can build, right? To make sure that it's going to work. And something that is happening to me is every year, I used to do the Fantasy Premier League. I'm not sure if you like football or not, but I really like it, right? And I used to do the Fantasy Premier League with my friends. The problem is I never have time to do my team, to make the changes, and so on. So I decided to create an application where I can say, hey, I want to create my football team for the Fantasy Premier League. These are the instructions, and create an application to me so you can recommend the players that I'm going to start playing with. And this is what I did. Everyone can do it. It's super simple. There we go. So I log into Party Rock. and I start, giving instructions, and it's like, hey, I want to create an application that is going to act as the Fantasy Premier League virtual assistant. So we can have, different team formations. Your budget is going to be £100, 100 million pounds, and you can have, all this data, like, hey, input data, team formation, blah, blah. So the app is going to have 4 dialog box for the different team players, like midfielders, goalkeepers, forwards, and so on. And there you have, in one single minute, I have created an application that actually it works, and it works pretty well, because let me tell you something, and after the talk, if everyone can or wants to come to me and talk to me, I can show you that right now I'm leading the Fantasy Premier League, and actually last year, I was second in the Fantasy Premier League. I just dedicated a couple of minutes to create the applications. So this is a very silly example, but you have an idea about how easy right now is to create applications by using artificial intelligence. You don't need to be a software developer anymore. You don't need to be an ML engineer anymore. You don't need to be a data scientist anymore. Just by logging into Party Rock, you can start creating applications very easily. And number 3, we have talked a lot about foundation model, right? But something that we have learned at AWS is there is no one single model that is going to rule them all. I mean, GPT was there for many months, right? And it was leading the market. But the reality, and as soon as I talk more and more to my customers, I realize how important it is to get access to different models. I'm not sure if you have seen this before. This was during a talk by, I think it was the CTO of Microsoft. So he was telling about, how the market is going in the future, right? So remember that we need more and more compute, right? So he was saying hey, we have started by a fish that is GPT-2, then we have a shark, and we are going to have this big white whale in the future that it was going to be, I don't know, GPT, whatever, 5, 6, I don't know. Remember I said, there is no one single model to rule them all. So the next GPT, actually, he was wrong. It was not this big whale, but it was DeepSeek. And DeepSeek came to the market and revolutionized the market because they were able to deliver something that it was even more capable and with 100 times less amount of cost. This proves how important it is to get access to many different models because there are many use cases, right? I mean, we may have use cases for summarization. We may have use cases for analysis, reasoning, or even for writing code. Depending on the use case, we will prefer to use one model or the other. For example, AI21 is one provider that is based on Tel Aviv, and they have created models that they are super good on writing assistants. I really recommend to use these models. But again, if you're writing code, maybe you prefer to use Anthropic. So depending on the use case, you will probably go with one approach or the other. But at the end, there are different operational characteristics, right? It's all about cost, it's all about capabilities, and it's all about the speed. And you need to prioritize, right? Hey, maybe I need a model that is super capable, and I don't mind to, lose a bit on time, but because I really need to be super accurate. So based on these 3 different parameters, we will use one model or the other. And this is what is happening right now. And this is why at AWS, we decided to provide the widest choice of foundation models. We have open weights models from Mistral, that this is the French startup. We also have the models from Meta, that they are called the Llama models, Llama 3 models. We also have Anthropic. If you are familiar with Anthropic, the founder of Anthropic was also one of the guys working at OpenAI at the beginning. And they have found this company that they are creating super safe foundation models. And right now they are leading many of the benchmarks on capabilities for LLMs and foundation models. We also have models from Stability AI for image creation. We have Luma. Luma is one of the startups in the US that they have a state-of-the-art model for video generation. The reality is there are many different companies based on your different needs. So based on your needs, based on your use case, you will select one model or the other. So this is the 3rd recommendation. Don't stuck into one single provider, because what is happening right now, if you take a look to the different model providers, most of the customers right now, they are using at least 3 different model providers. So they may be using Mistral, they may be using Meta, and they may be using Anthropic. But 93% for them, they are using many different models. And this is the reality right now. This is not a market where, like every single customer is using the same model for every single purpose. All these times are gone. And this proves how right we were when decided to bring the best providers of LLMs into the market. And fourth aspect that I consider that is one of the key elements when working with generative AI. If you really want to get value or to bring value into your business, you need to use your data. I mean, like there is a lot of hype around generative AI. And I used to do this analogy, right? So this is like this big iceberg, right? Everyone is talking about generative AI. Everyone is talking about these LLMs. They are talking about agentic AI, and there is a lot of hype. But let me tell you something. The companies that have been really successful by implementing artificial intelligence are all the ones that they have dedicated huge amount of time to working with data. For example, like traditional sectors like FSI, financial industries, insurance, healthcare, and life science, because they have invested huge amount of time and money as well on building a data strategy, having the right roles, building your data pipelines. For them, it's super natural, it's super easy to start using artificial intelligence. So one of the key elements that you need to pay attention to is not even artificial intelligence, it's to your data strategy. It's almost impossible to be successful with AI if you have not invested on data. Because at the end of the day, if I'm company A and I'm company B, and I'm not getting the value from my data, I'm not going to provide any, adding value for my end customers. And there are many different techniques, right? Remember I said at the beginning, these foundation models can be customized, to change the behavior of the models, right? And we can move from the left into the right if we want to provide more value, but of course it's going to be, more expensive, and we will require higher levels or higher skills, right? So we can start by doing this prompt engineering that I'm quite sure everyone is, aware of. So my recommendation is to start with prompt engineering, and you need to validate, okay, the result is good or not. If it's good, just stay there. You don't need to do anything else, right? But if not, you can move to the right. And then you can start doing some kind of, advanced techniques for prompt engineering. And we can talk about, a few thought, chain of thought, cell consistency, and so on. This is prompt engineering. But with prompt engineering, we are not modifying the underlying architecture of the LLM. We are just providing context to the model, right? And sometimes this is not enough, because maybe we want my model to have my own style, right? To learn from my brand, to learn from my customers. So we can start doing other techniques. And we have also RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. So Retrieval Augmented Generation is pretty much when I was, at the university and I was, trying to do the exam. And I was not able to find the answer. So the teacher was telling me hey, it's not a problem, you can open the book, you can find the answer on the book, and then you can put it there. So this is pretty much RAG, right? So when the model doesn't know the answer because I'm asking it about, internal things about my company, for example, I can say to the model hey, okay, you can find the answer on the book. But again, it's not the same to have one book rather than having 1,000 different books. That's why you need to implement advanced techniques to do RAG. So this is another approach that you can take. But let's say I want to give the model my own style, right? I want the model to be, I don't know, the best lawyer in the market. If I want to be the model, the best lawyer in the market, needs to learn from laws, right? So needs to have a specific vocabulary, needs to have a specific knowledge. And this is something that you can do with fine-tuning. Fine-tuning, it means you take the architecture of the model, like the neural network, and you're going to modify all these connections between the network, right, to make sure it's going to learn new stuff. So this is fine-tuning, and this is what it's going to bring you more value into your different use cases. And for sure, at the end, you can train a model from scratch. That is something that I don't recommend you to do it. But these are all the different techniques. And based on how you use your data, you will be in a situation to provide more value at the end of the day. And by the way, if you want to do all these things, you can do it very easily on Bedrock. Again, you don't need to be super technical. You don't need to be a data scientist to fine-tune a model. You can just select a data set, and you can say to the model, hey, learn from my data set. So it's going to generate a new model that is going to excel in very specific tasks. It's super easy to do it. And the last point for today, this is important only if it's going to bring value to your business, right? I don't care about the use case unless like it's bringing value. I mean, like I'm going to sell more by implementing AI. I'm going to reduce the churn. I'm going to be more efficient. I'm going to retain my people. So this is the only important thing. It's like AI turbo-chase transformation. And I'm going to show you today some examples, some really cool examples about how people is using artificial intelligence today. And we know it pretty well because, I mean, like, there is a lot of hype around artificial intelligence, but we have been using artificial intelligence for almost 20 years. I mean, like, if you are using the Amazon applications that I'm pretty much sure that you are using most of the time, our recommendation engine, it's powered by different machine learning models. But also, it's not available here in Spain, but if you're using Amazon Prime, these drones, they are using computer visions to do the delivery of the packages. And Alexa, that we recently announced, Alexa Plus. Alexa Plus is using anthropic models to make sure that it's going to give you a most relevant answer. So it's the next generation of virtual assistant. And if you go to our fulfillment centers, all the robots, all the trucks between point A into point B, they are powered by machine learning models. Take a look. This is like, like living the future. So this is something that is happening today. Yes, like a few kilometers far away from here in our fulfillment center. So all these robots, the route that it takes from point A into point B, they are powered by machine learning models. So they are capable to define which is going to be the best way to arrive and to deliver the package on time. So this is what I said, like, yeah, artificial intelligence could be cool, but this is when, like, it's important. When, we can say to the customer that tomorrow you are going to have your package on time. It's not about using AI. It's about, like, bringing value to the customer. I really love to be there because, like, it's, again, like living in the future, and this is something that is happening today. This is another example, right? Like, hey, how many times you have a boss who is telling you, like, hey, I need this executive report for yesterday. So this is happening all the time. And you spend hours on hours on building executive reports and trying to navigate through your data. Right now with QuickSight, you can start talking in natural language to your data. And you can ask about, like the number of sales on San Francisco. I think here, yeah, the loan information for Los Angeles. And it's going to give you the information just by talking to your data. Again, you don't need to be technical to start getting insights from the data. I mean, like, you don't need to spend hundreds of times to download the data from the dashboard into Excel, and then you can understand the Excel that you are building. That is pretty much what is happening in most of the business. But even if you want to create an executive report, you can say, like, hey, my boss is asking me to create this executive report that needs to include this chart with this information and the other and the other. And instead of spending, I don't know, a couple of weeks on building this report, you can just get it on a matter of seconds, if not minutes. You can see it now that it's going to create this report, and very easily, it's going to get it for you. This is what we call storytelling. So I think it's over there. Yeah, I want to build a data story, right? So you can define the style of the data story. You can include the charts. And you are going to deliver this to your boss. And you can dedicate your time for, like much better things. And this is something that we are doing already today. It's not something about, hey, this is going to come in the next few months. This is happening already today. Hey, build me a story about the mortgage in California where they are happening and the median loan amounts for the different days. And you have it there. You don't need to spend the time, like creating all this information. It's super easy to do it. I really like this one. I really like this one, and because it has saved a lot of time for me, but also from our customers. But let's say you want to create a job role for product marketing manager, I think. Senior product marketing manager. You can ask Amazon Q, and it's going to generate the role for you guys. And even if you want to create a short version of it, you can just do it like, hey, I want to create this short version for media or for my social network, and you will have it just in a matter of seconds. Again, this is how much more productive we can be by delivering the same value, if not more. And this is another good example, right? Probably you have heard a lot about agents, AI agents everywhere. So models, in some manner, they are useless if they only provide to us information. At the end, I want the models to take actions, right? Like, hey, if I want to book a room for my hotel. I don't want to give me the different offers, but I want the agent to book the room for me. So this is something that you can do with it. This is a real customer. This is a real customer that they're using large language models to replace part of the systems that they had at the moment. So they're having these AI agents where you can talk to them about, for example, a family vacation in Maui. So this agent, it's able to query the internal databases to find different places. Even, hey, I want to check availability in August, so I'm going to, check if August is going to be able or not. Hey, do you have any offer for me? Yeah, I think so. I think there are different offers in those days. Yeah, from July 17th, and you are going to get 25,000 bonus points. Okay, give me the lowest price. And finally, please book the room for me. This is something that is happening today. You don't need to have people, taking actions that they don't provide any value, but you can use LLMs, you can use agents to, do the things much faster. And this is something that we are also doing at Amazon, right? Hey, if you want to sell your products on our marketplace, one of the problems that we had, it was hey, the quality of the pictures, they were not good enough, right? So right now you can use Amazon Ads. So you can upload your pictures. Let's say I think we are going to sell here a toaster or something like that. Yeah, you have it there. But it's hey, because it's not so sexy, I look in the toaster like that. I want to have this toaster by, I don't know, in a kitchen, by preparing meal. So you just put the description of how picture or needs to look like, and you're to have all these different pictures. Or let's say I want to have all these pictures with pumpkin, and then you have it perfect for Halloween. So it's super easy to start using this. And again, you don't need to be technical. This is something that is happening already today. And this is the last one. I mean, maybe many of you, well, I'm sure many of you are using Amazon Prime, right? And you are seeing our videos, series, and so on. So we recently released Amazon Nova, that they are our foundation models for generative AI. So you can use Amazon Nova Reels to create something like this. So this is for one of our customers, where you can create videos just by using large language models. I mean, it seems real, but actually it's not. But you don't mind, right? As soon as the service or the product is good, it's more than enough to us. So this is happening today, right now, by using our foundation models. And this is the reality. So remember, the first thing is about everything is happening in the cloud, right? If you are using artificial intelligence, you need to be in the cloud. Otherwise, it's going to be super hard to really power and take and leverage all the power from these technologies. Second aspect, you need to experiment, and you need to experiment a lot. You need to experiment very cheap, and you need to experiment very fast, because your competitors, they are already doing this. And if you don't do it, you are going to lose a big opportunity. Third point, it's about having access to different foundation models. Remember, this is not a game anymore for one single player. We see providers from Anthropic, Mistral, OpenAI, so the more access you have to different models, the better is going to be the product you are going to build. The consistency, coherency, and control, it's achieved through your data. So remember, you have different techniques. You can do prompt engineering, you can do RAG, you can do fine-tuning. You can do it very easily on Amazon Bedrock, but again, by using your data, you are going to create unique products. Otherwise, you will generate the same product that your competitor is doing right now. And finally, it's about creating value. So really think about the use case that is going to provide more value to your end customers. Because this is what is happening right now, and you can see how AI is going to make you more productive, more efficient, and to sell more to your customers. So we're here today, but what is going to come next? I mean, when we were in the Mobile World Congress in a couple of years, in a year, what kind of topics we are going to be talking about? So I don't have a crystal ball, but I think, everything is going to drive around agents. So as I said before, we are not expecting LLMs to give us information, but at the last time, we are expecting to take actions. And this is what is going to happen. I mean, agents is about planning, it's about self-reflection, and it's about taking actions in the real world. And this is what is going to happen in the next few months. We will see agents almost everywhere. And the next aspect that I think is super important, we are kind of in a position where we are still using the same models based on the paper that I was talking about before, right? This all you need is attention. So DeepSeek has revolutionized the market for like bringing a lot of innovation with like much more efficient models. So something that is going to be happening very likely in the next few months is to have new architectures, new approaches that they are going to bring us new levels of intelligence. So right now we are here, but I'm pretty sure in the next few years, 3 to 5 years, we are going to be in a situation where these kind of models, they are going to outperform most of the tasks that we are doing at the moment. So you need to be ready for that. Thank you so much, and I really hope you enjoy the talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was Eduardo Ordax from AWS. Very insightful, very knowledgeable. And yeah, guys, we're going right now on a break, and we're back on the stage, 3:35, to continue our AI topic, because today, this whole Founders Academy and Founders Stage is all about the Gen AI. And we're gonna dive into the topic of go-to-market. So have a break, visit actually the top 20 finalists from 4 years from now, startup awards that are just there behind the corner, and come back. And yeah, see you very soon.